What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Mandalorian Season 2 Episode 1 video. This episode was superb as our Mandalorian continues on the search to find other covert Mandalorians and find a place the child can stay safe forever. And this episode seriously does not disappoint whatsoever. We will be discussing the ending, Easter eggs, and breaking down the episode, providing my thoughts on it throughout. But spoilers, I adored this episode so very, very much. Now, if you enjoyed the video, please do consider leaving a like down below as it helps us out massively, and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss a video. Now, we open with Din taking the child to his first ever wrestling show. What an absolute lovely dad. But the town he's in has some very cool graffiti of C-3PO and general references to the original movies and the fall of the Empire. Although our Mandalorian here has an ulterior motive, as he wants to find other Mandalorians who will help him on the journey to find a place for the child. Of course, as usual, it goes absolutely tits up for the Mandalorian just searching for a mate. We see two Gamorrean fighters here in this wrestling show, and of course they were guards for Jabba the Hutt in Return of the Jedi. He asks his contact to find other Mandalorians, but it turns out it's simply a trap, as the contact wants to take his Beskar armor, as it's inherently valuable, even more now as the Mandalorians are being hunted and being killed, which is hinted towards when he says that the only way to take a Mandalorian skin is to get them there in their hiding places. This contact here is Abyss, an alien from Abyssian, and has been featured throughout the Star Wars media. However, Din gives him one chance to not attack him, which this guy shrugs off, and we see an awesome action-packed scene as the child hides there, and that was so sweet. I swear half the audience watched this show just for that cute little scamp, and that's it. Once all is said and done, the contact is then strung up, and he says to go to Tatooine to find a Mandalorian, and, well, of course, Din knows it well, but he's never heard of a Mandalorian there. And now, I'm not unsure if he meant the Marshal, who was seen wearing Boba Fett's armor, or Boba Fett himself, clearly a survivor of the Sarlacc pit. Now, nonetheless, he heads there and arrives, and we get to see Peli Motto again here, played by the amazing Amy Sedaris, and I loved her in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And Din seems to like the droids now, he doesn't mind them, and I'd imagine Mandalorians are kind of a bit dismissive of droids there, as we see the R5 unit that Luke and his uncle bought, but it broke, leading to our boy himself, R2-D2, going on to start the course of the whole of the original trilogy. Of course, there are also racing pit droids later, which we see a pod racer later. Yeah, more on that. I'll talk to that in a second. So she tells him that the Mandalorian he's looking for might be at Mos Pelgo, a town wiped off the map of Tatooine, and we also have mentions of Mos Espa as well, which is where, of course, we first found Anakin Skywalker. The town was briefly mentioned in the Star Wars Old Republic game as well. He heads there, and in the first of a few funny scenes, we see Mando sitting with the Tusken Raiders on his way. He arrives and reaches the town, and the shots look so very cool, making this seem like a western. Sadly, we didn't get the shootout I expected, but the town looks quite nice, to be honest. It doesn't look too bad. Now, he speaks to the barman, and we learn that there is someone with at least Mandalorian armor, and there it is in all its glory, the iconic Boba Fett armor. It's looking pretty raggedy, but it did survive the Sarlacc pit in around 4 ABY, and the show is also set 9 ABY. That's, of course, after the Battle of Yavin. However, it's evident it's not Boba himself, as we see him instantly take off his helmet, because that's not something that Mandalorians do, and it's Timothy Oliphant's character, the Marshal. Now, his proper name is, of course, Cobb Vanth. This character, he was featured in the Aftermath novels. He was the sheriff and mayor of Freetown, which is what Mos Pelgo is really called to these locals. In these stories, the death of Jabba the Hutt led to a power vacuum, leading towards a mining company being formed, which is what we saw here, but they're just really criminals. He even recruited Jabba's old Beastmaster and had a Hutt as well, and the beef with the Tuskens goes deep, as Cobb Vanth here is an ex-slave, but they formed an uneasy alliance with the Tusken Raiders eventually, leading up to where we are now in the show. He bought the armor off some Jawas and used it to protect the town from bandits post-Battle of Endor. This is where we get a really cool flashback showing the galaxy watching the second Death Star get destroyed, and it's clear now Boba is alive, as well we saw him at the end of the episode, and he was the boots that walked towards Fennec Shand last season. Now, in the Star Wars sequels, you never really got the idea that the average Joe in the universe really knew what was going on or had a kind of idea of the greater struggle of the Rebel Alliance and things like that. It's a real misstep that we never saw much of it. And Colin Trevorrow's actual movie, his original episode that he was going to make but was taken off, well, he was going to show that there was people dealing with executions and things like that. It was crazy. Star Wars Theory has a great video on it as well. I watched that after Rise of Skywalker thinking, wow, I wish we got that. But there was a vacuum there, and we see them cheer the destruction, but instantly there was a power vacuum as the Empire were destroyed once and for all. And it does remind me of when countries invade somewhere to install democracy, but it gets so much worse as the tyrants there were holding society together. It makes me think of the invasion of Iraq and also Afghanistan. They're about to throw down as the Mandalorian wants to get the armor back. It's an absolute disgrace that this General Joe Bloggs is actually wearing this armor, but they're interrupted by a crate dragon. Now, the crate dragons exist in the universe, and the pearls in its body are so valuable, and was actually a mission in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and it's pretty similar to what we had here. And of course, it was just really cool that they're referencing this real deep cut here, and one of the best RPGs ever made. Now, they make a deal that if the Mandalorian gets to kill the crate dragon, if he manages to do it, well, he'll get Boba Fett's armor back. And we see them go off to go and take down the crate dragon. But interestingly, Cobb is who at least his speeder, is the engine of Anakin's pod racer. Yeah, absolute crazy deep cuts here. I'm loving it. It turns out that the Tusken Raiders aren't all bad, except they were the cause of Anakin breaking down, turning to murder, cementing his turn to the dark side, and blah yada yada yada. Yeah, but they share a camp with Cobb and Mando, and they hint to Cobb killing Tuskens, but he just wanted to protect his village. The sounds that were actually made as well were the same ones as Obi-Wan, the sounds that Mandalorian also made just before he meets these Tusken Raiders were the same ones that Obi-Wan made in A New Hope, where he scared off the Tusken Raiders as he was going to save Luke there with the speeder. It was just really cool stuff here. They team up to kill the crate dragon, and Mando even volunteers some of the villagers, and it reminds me of the episode last season where they had to take down a walker and just the rest of the naughty people. They load up Banthas with explosives, and I thought they were just going to feed them to the crate dragon like he did at the end. It just seems like a kind of home run, if you ask me, if they just do that. The Tuskens have been studying crate dragons for generations and know exactly when they can attack it, and also if they just generally feed it to subdue it. Now, the action in the scene where the villagers and the Tusken Raiders and the Mandalorian go to take out the crate dragon, it looked ridiculous. Now, I woke up my poor pregnant girlfriend so we can watch it early and go downstairs and watch it in 4K instead of just chilling in bed and watching it on a small TV using Chromecast. And holy life day, did it actually look good. It reminded me somewhat of a mixture of Monster Hunter and the episode where Dany burned all the Lannisters in Game of Thrones. The tension was high, and they still need to use ballistas to take it down despite having warp speed tech. They realise their plan of angering it and blowing up its stomach isn't gonna work as it hides in the Sarlacc pit, and they manoeuvre to fly and take it out. Now, interestingly, the way that he smacks Boba Fett's jetpack is similar to the way that Boba Fett started to perish in Return of the Jedi when he went flying and got murked. But they have a 900 IQ play as this happens, and I thought it was really, really cool. So he smacks the jetpack and Cobb Vanth goes flying, and he leads the poor Bantha into the mouth of the Krayt Dragon. He's now free to take the armor, but really he's no closer to finding more covert Mandalorians or even Jedis for the child, except we have the payoff. We see Temuera Morrison at the end all beaten up with acid scars over his face and his scars for him as it is Boba Fett. He has returned finally. He has returned from the Sarlacc pit, and there's a wide range of stories. There's no explicit canon there for him to escape the Sarlacc pit because the expanded universe was absolutely ripped up and then turned into Star Wars Legacy, but it seems he escaped using his rockets, and he lost his armor in there, and he's just been wandering around. And this whole thing is very, very cool. He seems to have taken up the life of a nomad, but no doubt he wants his armor back. And this will be a mystery, I think, that will go and run through right to the end of the season. However, now we need the Mandalorian to go forth and head to a more popular city. I hope we see more popular cities, and we seem to see that from the trailer there. We see another port. So I do hope we see more of the world of Star Wars at the street level. But again, really, really great episode. Absolutely loved it. I love the fact it's weekly as we get the hype each week. But that's it for this video. Please do drop a like down below. Please do subscribe. And I'll see you soon, and goodbye.